Um, Sir Wizzle, that's a very good question. What are my thoughts on what's happening in Nepal? I have some cursory knowledge of what's going on in Nepal, and I know Indonesia is going through some civil unrest as well. Um, I did hear about the Nepo babies and that, some of the ruling or elite classes in Nepal, they kind of are setting up their children for enjoying so much luxuries while everybody else is unemployed and is really struggling, and that there's a lot of corruption within the government. I'm looking at the New York Times right now as I'm talking. Um, I'll say this: they should not have banned social media platforms. I think that was a very poor decision, and I've noticed that in there are governments, when they know that people are starting to protest and people are starting to take action, one of the first things they want to try and do is ban social media. And social media is like the opium of the masses. You cannot do that in today's day and age. But I have been retweeting a lot of tweets about the situation. We'll see what happens. But civil unrest is kind of what happens when you have a society that is skewing unfairly towards the most vulnerable in the society, and everybody wants to work hard and make a good living for themselves and for their families, right? And I'm just giving you my cursory details. I genuinely do need to read up and research more about what's happening in Nepal. I think it's crazy that people were protesting and they were getting, well, TikTok just took down a video where I was talking about pew-pewing, but I do not think that the military should have been called on people who were protesting, but I understand that the freedom to have assembly and the freedom to protest is not necessarily a worldwide recognized right. Yeah, I did hear that there were parliament buildings being burned, that there was looting. That kind of thing isn't helpful, and it definitely puts a bad light to what's happening. And you don't know what kind of information and what kind of documentation, what kind of proof of corruption that you could potentially be destroying by your actions. But I will say that I can appreciate people who have decided that they are going to take charge of their own destiny and decide that this government isn't for us. This government is not supporting us. We want change and we want it now. So yeah, I'm not a fan of violent protesting, but I am a fan of protests. And I think sometimes they're needed to bring about change when people aren't quite listening. Let me just quickly check and see what I have to read about this more. So this is just a very cursory look as to what's going on. I'm looking at a New York Times article. Maybe I'll read this article on here. I still want to back up more of my content onto YouTube because TikTok is over here taking down videos and all. I'm wondering what their system of government is like. Is it that they vote in people? Is it that people are elected? Like, what happens with that? I'll have to read up more on it. But so far I'm not displeased with what they're doing. I think it's worthwhile looking into. So it's a Democratic Republic of Nepal. So it looks like they do have people that they vote into power. Yeah, I have no issues with what's happening in Nepal, except for I think the more violent protests probably should stop and that it should be peaceful. But it sounds like they're working their way to kind of negotiating new terms and negotiating new leadership. So I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at them. And it sounds like they're going through now and kind of cleaning things up. So that's good to see. Yeah. Hopefully people who are international are able to get out of there soon, because I'm reading that the airport has been shut down indefinitely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what other thoughts I can have. I mean, I hope that the country doesn't go under martial law, but they've kind of locked things down. I disagree with the attacks that happened to the people who were protesting. I don't think that was appropriate. Hopefully they can get back to some democratic relations, and hopefully people feel a sense of hope, because I think that's what's important about our world. And this article's long as hell. They have they have probably like 100 articles looped in here. I'm just quickly skimming them to get information. But yeah, my heart is with the victims from the protest who were set upon by the military. That wasn't right. But I think that there's a social contract that's really important in society, and I think that that's what people in power are forgetting. Yes, you need the permanent underclass. Yes, you need lower class workers to kind of help the society to chug along. But at the same time, these people need to feel a sense of hope. They need to be able to feel like they have their own castle in their home. They need to know that they can afford a house, that they can afford creature comforts in life. They need to be able to know that there's a possibility for them to have certain level of economic mobility and a solid quality of life and good education and things like that. And if these basic needs are not being met, you're going to lead towards civil unrest. And I think that a lot of countries are going to go in a similar direction if people are only seeing that they're basically in like a neo-colonial serfdom instead of actually within a democratic society. Does that make any sense? Again, I need to read more on the situation. I really do need to educate myself. But those are kind of just my initial thoughts from tweets that I've seen on social media, as well as this article that I've just kind of been scrolling through. So, yeah.